Carol Noonan, welcome back to Nature of Reality Radio. Thank you for reaching out to me. Like I said, return guests on this show are a rarity because I try to get a different guest on every single week. But when people reach out, I give them the chance to come on, as always, like I just did with you. So you wanted to come on because you have very important updated information, and if you have any doubts about whether or not you did discuss anything on the last time I had you on the show in the not too distant past, you are more than welcome to talk about that stuff again. I remember a lot, but I don't remember everything. So I can't answer your question. A lot of guest questions. Did we talk about this last show? I'm sorry. For some reason, when it comes to that question, I don't know. I guess I only remember what I choose to remember to a great extent. So anyhow, why don't you get out what you want to get out? Any new updates first, I guess that we might as well kill that, and then, time permitting, talk about the stuff you wanted to talk about regarding Atlantis and anything else. So, you got the floor. I will shut up and let you speak.
Okay, Andrew, thank you for having me back a second time so quickly. I'm delighted to be here, so thank you. Because I know that you were saying that you don't really like you like to have new guests all the time, so thank you. I wanted to ask you if you saw the David Icke interview yesterday.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was watching it on YouTube, and as soon as started talking about the control system, maybe several minutes into the interview, this video is no longer available on YouTube. It is private. Okay, so I go to London Real, and they're having problems, and then they eventually start playing it again. And well, I didn't watch the whole entire thing because the whole thing on my computer, it was just like how many people don't know, I was actually supposed to interview you yesterday, but I couldn't because my computer was having so many problems, both during that David Icke interview as well as through other things, and I don't know what the issue was. I don't know if it's NSA sabotage or something else, but I didn't watch the David Icke thing in its entirety, but I did get to see what was aired on YouTube, plus a lot of other things. But there were so many times where the video was pausing and buffering, and for whatever the reason, if it was too many viewers or if it was NSA sabotage of that, which is not shocking considering what's happened to Ike, YouTube and Facebook, whole new story there. Everybody knows. I don't even need to get into that, but yeah, that's what happened. I didn't see the whole thing, but I'm glad I caught what was, and so any particular reason why you asked that question?
No, just because I had the same problem. There was trying to view it. There was problems trying to view it, but there seemed to be thousands or hundreds, probably thousands of people that did have a problem trying to view it online. So
yeah, the comments made that clear. Comments posted during the show.
But I did actually manage to watch it in the end. I persevered with it. So the end part of it was really interesting what he was saying, and he was saying how we just need to. I thought it was a really good interview, and whether he's right or wrong, I really admire him because he speaks his truth regardless, and he has been highly censored as well. So it looks, from what he was saying, it looks like that David and is it Brian Rose? I think it looks like there's some rumours or the possibility of them getting together and creating a channel or a website that won't be censored. So he was talking about negative situations and being targeted and how something good comes from it. So yeah, watch that space, to see if he does set up something, which would be fantastic. But I wanted to talk a bit about love, if that's okay, and because some people seem to be of the idea or thoughts that they don't really get it, when you say that you need to be love and step into love, now love is a frequency, it's an energy, it's a vibration, and it's a frequency that can be measured scientifically, as all the emotions can. So if it's measurable, it's something that you can create within yourself. It's a frequency, it's an energy, it's a vibration. So we can create that within ourselves. And that's really where we need to be. We need to be coming from a space of love and light. And yes, we do need to take action. We do need to step up and stand in our own power. But the world is changed. There's no going back to normal now, to what was our normal yesterday. That's gone. That's really gone. And the whole world is just crumbling around us. And all these things are, I don't watch the mainstream news anymore. I've kind of stopped watching it now, but I do. I've been spending quite a lot of time looking at stuff on the internet recently, the last week or so, and because I wanted to get as much information as I could from what's going on in the world, because most of us are isolated now in our homes, and there's a lot of stuff coming out that is, to say it's negative, negative in the extreme, with things that are being reported and coming out and being shown and being aired. And some of it is quite sickening. It's really, really sickening. Some of it has really made me want to be sick, physically. But I've sat through and watched things that I thought, no, I need to watch this, and I need to know what is going on the lower frequencies, the lower vibrations. It's because I need to be aware of not just the love and the light, but I need to be aware of what the dark agenda and the negative agendas are doing and up to, so that I can somehow have some impact, some transformation, so that because I am here to change things, like a lot of people are. Everyone really at this time on Earth is either here to change things or they're part of the problem. Though those are the two main forces that are here on Earth at the moment. Especially the starseeds, they're very much here to help to wake humanity up and to change things. And then you've got the negative agenda, who are the problem and who are also part of the problem. So, yeah, do you have any thoughts on that, Andrew?
Well, excuse me. Yeah, since you say you want to talk about love, it's interesting you say that in a synchronistic act of synchronicity. Brad Johnson, Channels of Dronist, uploaded a very significant video, I think, recently, yesterday, where he was talking about love and how that was basically the title of the video to some degree, and the main picture of it had a heart shape with, I think, the ocean in the background. And basically the theme of the video was how ridiculous it is that we actually want to be slaves, which I've been shunning the human race for on my show since day one. The fact that so many people want to be slaves, and I had experienced the kind of chaos, and well, I shouldn't say chaos, it's not really chaos as much as it is annoying inconvenience, with going on the nature trail yesterday, seeing a lot of people wearing masks, and I'm thinking, dude, you're out in nature, what in the world are you? And I walked by people and I couldn't help but say, why don't you just take that stupid mask off? Nobody has authority to tell you to wear a mask on your face if you don't want to wear it. And they all gave me the same excuse, was, I don't want to catch the virus. And when I had gotten to Ace Hardware store to use a couple of coupons, they were still open. That's one business that's still open in my area. Like the name Fisher's Ace Hardware, even though I'm not the family member that owns it. But anyhow, they had me wear a mask, and the whole 6 foot markers, it was ridiculous. And I don't really know where this is going. Well, I know where it's going. Considering I just listened to one of Cryon's uploaded videos where he interestingly was talking about how the stock market, talk about the stock market in his interview. It's very rare to think of a higher entity being would seem to want to talk about something like that, but he did, and how it fluctuates and how it's going to fluctuate in a way that suggests humanity's in for some big changes, and he kind of left it at that. It was one of the shorter videos that I saw him do. So you have to think that this virus, whether it exists or not, and let's not get into that can of worms, but the idea that it's actually going to cleanse out all the negativity on Earth in some way, some form, to pave the way for positive things for humanity. Yeah, I think there's definitely truth to that. So
Yeah, and I
for me
think,
to say.
sorry, Andrew, go on.
Was that what you expected me to say? Was what I was
No, no, I just was just wondering. What the Pleiadians have shown me recently, and I can't remember if I said this already on the last show, but I'm going to say it again. There is so much going on Earth at the moment. We're on overload, and everything is overwhelming. There's so much coming at us, and it's coming so thick and fast and so quickly. There's no time to process anything anymore. Things sometimes are happening on an hourly basis, where there's changes or new information is coming in, or something happens, or there's an energy wave, or that something. It's kind of hourly at the moment, and the world is watching and waiting for people to come and save us. And actually, we need to stand back and realize and take a breath and realize that we need to help ourselves. We need to step forward. We need to yes, we need to be love, but we need to stand up and be love and take action. Love in action, with motion, with a voice, with coming forward and saying, this is not okay, this is not right, and we are not going to accept it. We need to get in touch with the lawyers and the doctors and the military within our families and talk to them and explain to them what's going on, because that's where we reach that's when we're related to someone, you can reach their heart. You can reach beyond the suit. You can reach beyond the policeman. You can reach beyond the military. You can reach beyond the politician. You can reach beyond the doctor. You can reach beyond the nurse. And I watched a very disturbing video clip yesterday where there was this guy who was saying he didn't want the injection. And I'm assuming it was a vaccine, or it was something. There was something he didn't want to be injected with. Probably not a vaccine, because I don't believe they're out yet. But he was insistent that he didn't want this injection. And there was someone recording it, or he put the phone on the side to record it. And there was 3 doctors, I think, and 2 nurses in the small room with him. And they were very adamant he was going to have this injection. And he said to them, he tried to explain his rights, and he didn't want this. There was no one else in the room to support him. And in the end, the phone or the camera was knocked off, whatever it was resting on. And it just showed, you could hear them speaking. And he started shouting and screaming, and there was a kerfuffle, and there was noise where they were not getting violent, but there was aggression there, and there was physical restraint. They had to restrain him to get the injection done. And in the end, you just heard him crying, and he kept saying, "This isn't right. This isn't right." Now I do see it. I see that is one possibility, or one path that we could be going down. A possibility that we could be going down that route, which is very scary. It's kind of horrific to me. And David Icke yesterday was saying in his interview that we're living in a Nazi ruled world, which seems to be becoming apparent now that we are. That's the world we're living in, and everything is just happening so quickly and fast, and there's no time to process stuff. We need to, so those people that are related to nurses and doctors and medical professions and pharmaceutical people, the big pharma companies and military and policemen. We need to be talking to them, and, you know, when they're in our families especially, and talking to the heart of the person and saying, look, this isn't right. You know, don't be arresting people when they go out. Don't be doing this, don't be doing that, because it's wrong. It goes against natural laws and our God-given rights and humanity. It goes against our very nature and our divine being. So there's, you know, I do see a positive outcome, Andrew. I absolutely do, but I feel that things are going to get worse before they get better. I do see food shortages and so a big demand in food and a low supply. So big demand, low supply, and I kind of feel that's going to be worldwide. Probably worse in some places than others, but we need to go back to basics. We need to get growing food now. And so there's so much I could talk about, but I'm trying to focus on just the most important things. We do need to stock up on food and water and supplies. I have been told by the Pleiadians that the internet will go down at some point. So get candles, get supplies, get matches, get torches, you know, get what you need in terms of, for a crisis mode. But I do see things getting better. So we need to step out of fear, because fear, like love, is the opposite of love. I don't believe that the opposite of love is hate. I believe it's fear. So you've got love and fear, and you've got hate, and you've got all different emotions, which are all frequencies that can be measured. So if they're frequencies that you can measure, then you can learn how to step in and tune in and turn on those frequencies within your own body, within your own system. So yes, we do need to be love, and we need to learn how to do that. We need to learn how to step in our heart, step into our heart and be unconditional love. And we also need to recognize that we are not separated from each other. A big part of the negative agenda, or the black hats, or the Illuminati, or the reptilian nature is to divide us and conquer, divide and conquer. And what I keep getting over and over again, I've had it so many times, I've probably had it a couple of hundred times within the last month or so, is united we stand, divided we fall. So that's what we need to do. We need to come together and be united like we never have before. And we need to create a world that we want to be part of. I sometimes feel that, isn't this a beautiful time to be on Earth? A beautiful time to be alive, that I get to be part of this magnificent change, and that we can become, and how amazing it is and beautiful that we're here at this time on Earth where all these changes are going on, because I do see a positive outcome. I see a beautiful future ahead. However, we're not there yet, and there are waves in the way. There's waves in the way, and there is bad weather also to come. Bad weather, because and this is where it kind of gets into Atlantis and what I've been shown by the Pleiadians. But at the time of Atlantis, the downfall of Atlantis, what happened is negative energies, negative ET energies came in and overtook the Atlanteans. And also there was a large meteor that hit the Earth and put the Earth off its natural axis. So everything shifted, the land shifted, the poles shifted. It was a catalytic time on Earth. So the negative ET energies also changed the DNA of the Atlanteans at the time, and in order to control them. So what's happening now is that everything is shifting back. The Earth is shifting back onto its natural axis, and our energy is changing, our consciousness is changing. It's raising back to the original blueprint that we had. So there will be Earth changes because the poles are shifting back to its original its natural original state of being, which also ties into Atlantis. And because I have been shown that Atlantis will raise again. Now, I'm not 100% certain at the moment that it is physically. I kind of feel it is, but that's a question I need to go back and ask them again. Is this physical thing, or is this energetic, where we are going back to the time of Atlantis energetically? And also the other thing they've shown me is that our DNA originally, there's two possibilities here, because they told me that our DNA has 13 strands, not 12, 13 strands. So either it originally had 13 in the beginning, or we're going to a time where in the future where we have 13 strands of DNA, not 12. So we're parallel. We're living on a parallel timeline to, it seems, a parallel timeline, or very familiar to what happened at Atlantis. It's like a pendulum is swinging back. In terms of we're going back to our original blueprint that was changed at the time of Atlantis. So everything is changing, and there is no going back to normal. There is no going back to normal. But and what's happening is horrendous, and it is unbelievable, and people are still not believing what's actually going on Earth and in the 3D world, Earth-based information, where things are coming out now about the Queen and and Bill Gates and all kinds of people that you would never expect that people who are asleep would never expect these people to be doing the things they're doing, and where people are actually taking legal action now against them. So yeah, I mean, there's so much I could say. I'm not sure where you want me to.
Well, since you mentioned that, I'm hearing myself echo in the background. Okay, now I don't. But all right, yeah. Since you mentioned that, this whole thing about WikiLeaks supposedly releasing a lot of stuff recently, it raises the question. You have to hope that people like David Icke and Alex Jones and his friends at InfoWars are taking the time to look through those WikiLeaks things and highlight the important stuff. Could I be doing that myself? Yeah, but I kind of have other things on my homework list that I feel like doing, like this radio show and all. So I hope someone out there is looking at that stuff. And this one guy who Starseed Academy channel, I think it is, he's only got 3-point-something thousand subscribers. He should have a lot more, because I've listened to some of his videos. He's really good, and he did a recent video talking about how, like, Edgar Mitchell, before he died, was communicating with John Podesta, and John Podesta, even though he's got all that skeletons in the closet regarding the sex abuse allegations and Pizzagate and whatever else, it also turns out that Podesta is seeming to get some eyebrows raised in the UFO and ET community with the fact that he had appeared on that recent History Channel program with Luis Elizondo going on his mission. Although Luis Elizondo, he's love him, hate him. I mean, he claims he wants to get the UFO cover-up exposed, but whenever he is encountered with a situation involving classified info, he always cries home to mama and says, I can't release this info because my government oath and all that, and the class documents say I can't talk about it. And I'm like, dude, have a little common sense and realize that if the government is hiding something to keep humanity from, like, awakening and all that, you as someone who worked in the government has the right to blow the whistle and expose the corruption and stop chickening out if that's what you're afraid of. You can't be scared of this stuff. You have to be willing to expose the truth, even if someone's going to come out to kill you. And I don't
Can I,
know. Well,
can I
I've got
just,
yeah. What do you want to say about that?
yeah, I'm
Something?
sorry, Andrew, to jump in there. I just wanted to bring up the point that, you know, when people are in that space of fear, they really need to take a breath and step out of it. Because like David, and David is absolutely right with what he was saying yesterday. He was talking about how the mind is ruled by fear. And when you step into your heart space in unconditional love, you no longer have that fear. You just simply do what's right, what you know to be right and true. And that's really what we need to do en masse. We need to step back, take a breath, step into our hearts, do meditation if we need to, but we need to breathe and take a moment. Just take a step back, breathe, and take a moment and step into your heart and ask yourself the questions. Is this okay with me? Would this be okay for my children? Would this be okay for my wife? Would this be okay for my husband? Would this be okay with my mum? Would this be okay for my father? Is this okay for me? Is this okay for my children? Is this the world I want my children to grow up in? Or my grandchildren? Or my great-grandchildren? And their siblings? And their siblings? What can I do? Am I part of the problem or am I part of the solution? Because you're either one or the other.
Well, let me stop you right there. That ties into something that kind of had an epiphany about listening to this presentation. A guy who I actually gonna have on my show in the not too distant future. I reached out to him after I saw this because it was pretty revealing. He pointed out that, well, first of all, there's some people who are looking at this SIVA, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Got to be kind of I have to be careful about saying that. Just listening to a gentle
Yeah.
Pixie on her video today, like using code word because you didn't want to get her channel blocked and all that. But okay, I digress. I'm gonna say this guy who did a presentation, gold and silver conference in San Francisco, like a year or two ago. He talked about how a return to the gold standard is inevitable, and some people who have a glass half full attitude toward this global civilization shutdown because of a pandemic, be it false or not, is that it's going to eventually result in a better world with no more bankers loaning money that doesn't exist and no charging interest on loans and no more corruption on Wall Street and economic freedom with released technologies and whatnot. And he said in that presentation the guy did that a return to the gold standard, which is one of the things that people who say no more banking corruption, this thing will eventually lead to a return to the gold standard on currency is inevitable. And he also pointed out that so many people in the generation older than mine, in my generation too, in some degree, have no idea about the gold standard because we've all been living under the thumb of the Nixon shock for so long. For those that don't know, Nixon shock in 1971, that's when Richard Nixon took off the U.S. dollar's convertibility to gold, and that didn't just affect America, it affected everybody around the world because the dollar is and was at that time and still is the global reserve currency. And well, this guy pointed out that because we don't know what a gold standard is like, it's not something that a lot of people would want to even move to because people like the status quo, even if it means you're going to be a slave. And I was telling my folks at the dinner table a couple days ago that I told them this, that I said the reason you guys don't seem to resonate with this stuff I'm saying that we need to return to the gold standard is because you've lived under the thumb of the Nixon shock your whole lives. And when Richard Nixon did that, my parents were too young to understand what was going on. And of course, I wasn't even born yet, but I do realize how it could be very beneficial because I have always said on my show that bankers loaning money that doesn't exist and charging interest on it makes that inflation unavoidable, which is, for all intents and purposes, going to put a perpetual ball and chain around humanity's awakening, because you can't have an economic system, which is the heart chakra of Mother Earth on the surface, when the whole system is designed to be a heart attack waiting to happen, because it makes debt inflation unavoidable. We got to get out of that, and if there is any truth to the 10 to 15 year period where we're going to go to no money at all, the return to the gold standard, I have said many times, that's the perfect stepping stone to kickstart, spark plug, get the match to light the fuse going to start that 10 to 15 year period to when we get to no money at all. I'm sure your Pleiadian contacts haven't really said anything to you regarding dates about when that return to the gold standard will be, but so many people are asserting it has to happen in like this year, and manifest to some degree in 2021. And well, if there's any truth to 2024 being the end of the Roman Empire of the modern era that is America, then well, it's got to happen by then, you would think. So well, I don't want to wait that
Yeah.
long. Who does? But you get my drift.
Yeah, I do, Andrew. And they have given me dates. They've told me that December this year, 2020, is going to be, there's something important happening in December 2020. I also get the feel of September as well as being important. But they have told me that the next 10 years are going to be really important, and the next 20 years are going to be really important, and the next 30 years are going to be really important. So I think there's going to be something happening at each of those dates: 10 years, 20 years, and 30 years. Now, I don't know what it is yet. But there's going to, it feels like it feels quite big to me. It feels quite important. It feels like it's going to be en masse. It's not just going to affect us on a small level. It's going to be global global changes or shifts, global shifts. And I do see energy changing around those times. So 10 years, 20 years, and 30 years. And this information actually came in, I think it was last year, where they said to me 10 years, 20 years, and 30 years. So those times are very important. In the extreme, that kind of feel energetically that they're as important as what's happening now. Those times are as important as what's happening now. So major events taking place 10 years, 20 years, and 30 years. And also something happening in December and September this year, 2020. So we need to change all the systems that are in place. We need to, now this is not going to happen overnight, but we need to make a start. And that initiation, that igniting has already started. We need to change the governments. We need to change our school systems. We need to change big pharma. We need to change the banking system. And that needs to go. That absolutely needs to go, because that rules us. That rules humanity. Money rules humanity. The love of money and the greed of money rules humanity. So all the systems that we have in place need to go. The money, the banks, the school system, the education, the indoctrination, the hospitals, the supermarkets, the big pharma, the pharmaceutical companies, the banks. I'm repeating myself now, but all the systems we have in place on Earth, they all need to go and be replaced with systems that have our best interests at heart, because those systems in place at the moment do not care about us. They do not have our best interests at heart. They are out for themselves, and they are part of the negative agenda. So we need people that are coming from a spiritual space, a spiritual energetic person that knows who they are, knows where they came from, why they're here. We need star seeds running, or rainbow warriors, or people that are aware spiritually and awake spiritually, who will operate on those systems for us on a higher level, who do have our best interests at heart. So, and that will take, I can't imagine that would happen overnight, because it would be too chaotic for people. You know, if you cause chaos in people or chaotic or trauma, because a lot of people are feeling this as trauma to themselves. And when you traumatize someone, you shake their energy. It's like someone being frazzled by electricity. That's what happens when you traumatize someone or a child. You frazzle their energy, so they are no longer able to cope. And that's what's happening at the moment with a lot of people. They're being overwhelmed and frazzled. They're no longer able to cope energetically. So they need to take a breath and just stand back and breathe. Process what you can as quickly as you can, calmly and peacefully. Meditation if you need to. But we need to get rid of the old systems. And instead of focusing on the old systems and what's wrong with them, we need to shift our heads, turn our focus, turn our perspective, turn our perception into what can we create. Instead of focusing on what's wrong and the problem, we need to shift our focus and focus on what we can create. Focus on what we can create. So let me bring it down a bit. So if the problem is that there's not enough food in the supermarkets, we need to grow our own food. And if the problem is where we live, if we're living in a city, then we need to move somewhere that is more beneficial to us, more beneficial to our surroundings and where we're living and energetically, so that we can start changing our lives. We need to rebuild because everything has crumbled. It's almost we're almost at visually what I'm seeing is big bricks that have crumbled. So we're energetically, it's like a war zone, because that's where we're at the moment. And I do see a positive outcome again, but I see it getting worse before it gets better. So we need to rebuild. We need to rebuild the systems and everything in place, everything that's been set up, because it has been set up by negative ET energies that don't have our best interests at heart, that couldn't give a toss about us. They couldn't give a damn. You know, they really, you know, they're not, they don't have the frequency of love within them. And that's the biggest difference. They are not able to recognize the frequency of love, of light, of peace, of harmony, of love. They don't operate at that level. So they're not able to feel that. They're not able to, oil and water don't mix. They don't mix, and they will never mix. And it's that type of energy. You've got the light or the love, and you've got the dark and the negative or the hate. They don't mix, and they will never mix. They will never mix. And what's happening now is when they put I'm trying to find the word when they put this, when they kicked things off earlier this year with what they put into into humanity, it's almost like a tsunami wave where they put this into the humans to affect us on a health level. So they put this thing in to affect us. And what they didn't realize, or what they didn't see coming, was it's like a tsunami. They created a tsunami energetically. What they didn't see coming was the tsunami bouncing back on themselves and actually drowning them and overtaking them. So I do see an uprising. I see difficult times ahead where we need to hold on. It's like a bit of a roller coaster ride where we need to hold on, and we need to stand fast, you know, be steadfast and buckle up and knuckle down and get through it. But we will get through it. I'm absolutely certain we will get through it. One thing I do want to mention, Andrew, is that the Pleiadians have shown me. Okay, before I say that, let me just say that I am not a researcher. I hugely admire people, the uttermost respect for people who are researchers. And maybe in the future I will research stuff to some degree or another, but at the moment I don't research. I'm just purely a channel for the Pleiadians. And sometimes I have to research stuff once I've been given it, but I'll just do it very briefly, like 5-10 minutes or a day or something, and then I move on. But I have the utmost respect for researchers, but I'm not a researcher. I'm a channel for the Pleiadians, and that is my purpose. That is my mission. That's why I'm here. That's what I was born to do. That's why I came here. So for me, that is the most important thing. Maybe I'll get into researching later, maybe I won't. I'd like to, but I don't have the patience to sit there and spend years, because it takes a lot of time to research stuff.
Well, I do, and I always bitch about people having lousy attention spans, because my audience for a show would be a lot bigger if that wasn't the case. Now, regarding these dates you're giving, now, this is such a broad statement for you to say every 10, 20, and 30 years. Well, anybody could say that. You got to be more specific, and there are a couple things that you could be specific about regarding, like, the end of Pluto and Capricorn coinciding with that eclipse. Well, not really coinciding. It's around that time period, April 8th, 2024, that eclipse that crisscrosses America, that's supposed to signal the end of the Second American Revolution, fall of the Roman Empire, the modern era that is America, and then like 2026, that's when I think Neptune is supposed to go out of whatever it's in now. It's in my 12th house. I know that. I'm not sure the planet, that's constellation off the top of my head, the sign, but 2026 you would think be a hot time of gradual change, because Neptune's changing signs, and 2036, 2037, you got Brad Johnson, who channels Adronis, and he backs his up with his claim with some guy who studied the pyramid code of the 2037 being a big shift from a consciousness standpoint of a darkness period, where he actually advises people to stock up on storable food and candles for what could happen. And it's interesting how that's around the same time period as that asteroid Apophis that they claim if it crosses the dreaded keyhole point on Friday the 13th in 2029, it could hit us in 2036. Interesting how 2029, 2030, that's when David Icke said humans and machines are going to, for all intents and purposes, merge. But I think, even though he talks about negativity all the time, he likes to think things are going to be more positive. He even acknowledged that in his Remember Who They Are talk, which I was at live in Wembley, by the way, in London in October. I saw that live there. He said he expects ever since the 2012 Mayan calendar end date, the vibrational frequency of Earth will keep increasing positively. Well, he seems interested until that through all that time to expose every weak link. Well, good for him. But he says 2030, that's when the singularity of sorts should happen. He sees it, man and machines. Interesting how Terminator movie 2029, the year the Terminator was sent back to 1984 to kill Sarah Connor, but that was a negative timeline in 2029, 2030 time period where the machines had taken over. So you got all these dates, you hear all these dates, you hear these future things, and I always say, well, look at the astrology and the numerology to try to map out what you could potentially see happening for both yourself and also a collective level. But also raises the question, is it really in our best interest to go with the flow and not really worry about these dates and times, or should we worry about the dates and times and use the readings as a map? And I know I've babbled a long time, but I seem to think it's good to do a combination of both. And one thing I've done to try to get with the flow of life more, no pun intended, is I've actually bought myself a snowboard, a skateboard, and a surfboard in the past week, and I'm going to use those three things and learn how to use them all to teach me how to flow with life a little better. And if you get my drift, hey,
Yeah.
what I got to do?
Yeah.
So,
well, no, you're right, Andrew. It's about balance. It really is about balance. You know, we need to bring everything back to balance within our heart center. This is where the polarities come into play, because it's all about balance. You know, yes, we are at war. This is a war, absolutely, without a doubt. Don't be under any delusions that this is not a war, because it absolutely is. We are at war. It may not be a physical war yet, and, you know, in quotes, yet, and it looks like it may get there. That seems to be the direction it's going. If things continue in that direction, because that's why we're here. We're here to help raise the consciousness of humanity, whatever is put in our place. So, and if that entails going to war physically, then that's what it entails, going to war physically. That's not our intention. Our intention is to raise humanity's awareness and consciousness peacefully, if it's possible. But those negative agendas, those negative ETs, do not operate on the level of love. They don't understand it. They don't hold it in their vocabulary.
Right. And sorry to interrupt you, but I did actually want to say this, but I had lost my train of thought for a moment, but it came back to me. These negative entities, I don't know to what extent you've talked about this with your Pleiadians, but I do want to get this out, and I want you to maybe give your take on it before you finish whatever it is you had to say about them. The idea that these negative entities, there's different factions of them, obviously, and regarding the extent to which they've lost control over humanity, I mean, I do remember Alex Collier in his recent talk on the Goldfish Report saying that the overlords of the draconian reptilian empire, the overlords, they're not involved on Earth anymore. And I've also heard people say that the malevolent factions of the Anunnaki from Nibiru, the Enlil faction, that they are no longer involved in our reality either. And you also have to wonder if the Zeta Reticuli Greys and the Orion Greys that are malevolent, if they're not in our reality either. And Akashic Records reader Andrew Bartzis, he did say the Archon control system has been on Earth in some way, shape, or form for 900,000 years. Well, when Brad Johnson, who channels Adronis, says that the Illuminati and the Roman Empire of the modern era that is America is going to officially be over around that April 2024 time period, that raises the question, okay, well, the Illuminati is over, but to what extent are we still going to have to deal with an Archon control system that's been on for 900,000 years? And when, I hate to use the word when, because time is supposed to be an illusion, but you have to think at what point, and what do we have to do to make sure that that Archon control system can be vanquished entirely forever, so we can rise in harmony to our full potential without anything hindering our rise to that. Have you talked about this with your guides?
Sorry, Andrew, go on.
No, I was going to say, do you talk about this with your guides? Do you all this stuff that I've just said? Have they said anything to you about this, and like what different factions are controlling what, and what we have to do to stop those specific factions, and how long are they going to continue to affect us, even as the humanity progresses over the next X amount of generations?
Okay, well, what the Pleiadians have said to me from the very beginning, when I first started to consciously channel them and become aware of them in 2009 or 2010, is that there is a war going on. And to me, they call it the War of the Worlds. And that we're not alone in the universe. We've never been alone, and we don't come from here. And there are thousands or upon thousands of different races within the universe. We are not alone. We've never been alone, and we don't come from here. And it's very hard for some people to grasp that idea or that concept that when it's just that it's not just us, and that we've been lied to on a massive scale, and that about everything, about our science, about our technology, about our military, about our hospitals, about our governments, about our money, about our food, about chemtrails, about every single thing that exists on Earth and in the universe as well, that we've been lied to on a mass scale. So, and also I just want to quickly point out there is actually 13 star signs, not 12. Okay, so you're talking about time changes and the different races that are within the universe. There's, it's impossible to know them all because there's so many of them. So many of them. And I think we don't even know yet how many there are. We don't, but the universe is teeming with life. It's teeming with life. And what's happened is there's been a veil of amnesia put around the earth to keep us dumbed down, to keep us quiet, to shut us up, to basically dumb us down. And also, our DNA has been changed so that we're not able to connect in and see those other beings, because they are there. They've never gone anywhere. It's just that we're no longer able to connect with them due to our DNA being changed and manipulated and dumbed down. But they've always been there. They've never gone anywhere. And there's been mass wars within the universe, on Earth and above it, where you can see the traces of that. And David Icke talks a lot about, or has talked a lot about in the past, about the Sahara and that area where if you stand back, if you look at it from a map and you from a distance, you can see clearly that it was a war zone. But even the Nazca lines, the Nazca lines were made, and I've seen this, I know it to be fact, that the Nazca lines were made from above the earth with some type of large advanced technology, and they made them from above the earth using some type of large advanced technology that like fire or heat, or there was some force behind it, where the images were burnt into the ground, burnt into the land. There was some type of war going on where they wanted to there was a lot going on at the time where they wanted to let it be known that we are not alone, and that we've never been alone. So they made these maps of the animals and the Nazca lines. They're maps of ancient times. So there's a lot of evidence on Earth that we're not alone, and we never have been alone. There's a lot of evidence. There's a lot of artifacts. There's a lot of art. There's a lot of historical data. A lot of things that just don't make any logical sense to us.
And right, well, we're going to learn it all, but then again, we are not meant to know the entire truth. Even Andrew Bartz has told me that in my private session with him back in December 2017, when he basically said, you have to understand, you're not meant to know the truth, but you're more than welcome to keep trying to find it. I think my paternal grandfather, when psychic Sean Margaret Cohen was channeling him back in 2015, I think it was, he actually, during that session, my paternal grandfather showed me a blue rose, and I looked up the significance of that, and there is actually no such thing as a genuine blue rose in nature. So spiritually, the significance of that is you're trying too hard to find truths that you can't find. Take a step back, relax, and accept the fact that you can't find everything, and well, still live life to the fullest, of course. And well, with that being said, we've reached the hour point. Return guests, rather than the 2 hours I usually give them when they first come on. Second show rounds usually only an hour. So I will give you the chance though now to get out anything you like before I bid you good day and good luck. So anything else you want to get out? Any last words and key things before I bring this part 2 with Carol Noonan interview to a fitting close?
Take back your power. Use your voice. Stand up. Stand in your real power. Use your voice. Stand up. Stop believing what you've been told and question everything, including yourself, and find out what you really believe in your heart. Does that resonate with you? And is it okay with you? Does it sit okay with you? Does it sit okay with your children? Does it sit okay with your mother, with your father, with your grandchildren? And if there's not a world that you want them to to give them, to be part of, then step back and take it into a different route, take it upon a different path. But we are starseeds. We are also the rainbow warriors that we've been waiting for. And what we have huge ability to make huge impact and to make huge change. So don't for 1 minute think that you are less than you really are, because the very opposite is true. The very opposite is true of what you've been taught, or what you've been led to believe, vastly within your school systems. So turn off the news, put down the newspaper, turn off Facebook, and go and sit and meditate and search for your own answers. Your own answers. And don't believe anyone that is telling you that you can't do something, because you absolutely can. When you stand in your own power, you have the ability to move mountains and to push through the BS that's being fed you, being fed us. And you have the ability to connect in with star nations. You have the ability to connect in with the Pleiadians or Sirius or whoever it is, with Jesus, with God, because you are part of God. God is not separate from us. God is not separate from us. We haven't even begun to show you how beautiful, how magnificent, how powerful you really are. And we are showing that to you, unfolding that to you, day by day, bit by bit, year by year. This is immense times you are living in. This is a mass awakening of humanity on a grand scale. And it not only affects your Earth, but it also affects everything within the universe, including our star systems and our star system. So be patient, become aware, turn off your TVs, turn off the internet, turn off Facebook, turn off YouTube, and find your own answers. Find out what's true for you. I'd also like to mention that I do readings, Andrew, and I'm doing a lot of stuff at the moment, including channeling the Pleiadians. So if anyone is interested in other things that I do, or other interviews that I have out there, I've got a whole load of things that have been channeled to me lately. So my website is thepleiadianchild.com, and most of my social media is the Pleiadian Child, or Carol Noonan, the Pleiadian Child, and my YouTube is Carol Noonan. So if anyone wants to reach out and watch videos, or maybe get a reading, or watch the interviews I've done, and also the previous interview I did with you, the part 1, then that is on my YouTube channel, and it's also on Andrew Fisher's Nature of Reality channel as well. And we love you. I love you. And we need to stand in. I'm not talking about superficial love. I'm not talking about superficial love at all. I'm talking about unconditional love in your heart. And if you want to go into the science of it, then I recommend Bruce Lipton, or looking into other scientists that are talking about love, because it is a frequency. It can be measured. It's something that is tangible, and you know when someone loves you because you can feel it. It's a frequency, it's a vibration, it's an energy. So if it is all those things, and if it is, and it is, then it's something that you can create in yourself. And that is the way to win this war on humanity, is to be love in action, with motion.
very, very deep. I thought that was beautiful. So, great interview. Great finale there. Did bring it to a fitting close. And I will upload this to YouTube by midnight tomorrow. Sorry for all the trouble trying to get the second interview around, but we did. So, good luck and keep in touch. And thank you for making me the administrator of that Facebook group, by the way. And I will surely communicate with you on the internet. You say turn off the internet, but that's only temporary. I'm sure you mean that. It's a great place for research, but you still have to get one with nature. So
Yeah, balance.
right.
It's all about balance. We need to balance. We need to stop going to the extreme with things. Balance in our heart center. Balance, 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 balance everything throughout the day. And this is advice that I also need to take as well myself. Because I've vastly been overdoing it on the internet lately. So yeah, I'm not. I've still got lessons to learn.
So do I. We all do.
Yeah.
That's why we're on Earth. So
Yeah.
thank you very much, Carol. Take care. And I know it's late in the UK, but you seem all energized and stay up as late as you want. But that's another problem with humanity. We're staying up too late. I think we need to get back on the nature cycles. And well, I'm sure glad I learned how to get to bed before midnight. And it's about midnight in your area. So well, enjoy your sleep. Enjoy your Trek Without Consciousness. Pleasure having you on. Take care.
We love you, Andrew.
Love you too. Take care. Bye.
Bye.